So I have decided to share my story, how I was evicted based on summons based entirely on two crimes that are data breach and violation of my privacy, like misappropriation of my private parcel that was to sign for, and it was signed in my name with my initial, and withheld for 4 days, so I would well say stolen for 4 days, and then opened, and then consigned to the police with false allegations and victimizing himself. And false allegations based already on the other previous false allegations that were threats that were sent against me, but then claimed to be against him, and threats that he probably sent himself to then be able to instrumentalize the theft of the parcel that was private, and I'm not going to discuss in public because it was disgraceful enough that I had to discuss a very private choice about something that my family didn't let me learn when I was young, a job that my family didn't let me learn that I wanted to train as, and I am doing now later in life, and I'm not going to justify in front of the whole world because some asshole opened my parcel and discussed it in the summon. I shouldn't have been discussing my private life choices during the summons that were to evict me and to put my life at risk after just causing me miscarriage. Once again, I had just announced about a month before, five weeks before, to my landlady, who knew what my plan here was and why I was here and what I was asking to be kept until breastfeeding. I was supposed to be starting that pregnancy in last summer, like in August. It started like in March, the year after, because of all the unbelievable crimes I've been victim of here, which were not investigated and which are all violation of the privacy because they're all stalking, as I will prove in the course of my videos. This is why I'm making my story public, because I do not know what I can prove in front of the court that are all colluded and corrupted, where women spirit gets killed, as well as the spirit of anybody that doesn't conform. Even if it's someone innocent, you can get thrown out with all your disabilities during a pregnancy after a miscarriage because you had a neurological meltdown. Yes, I have ASD, and that is not a mental illness. It's a it's a very valuable neurodivergency that describes usually a great intelligence that not all neurotypical people share. And so people should start to respect people who are neurodivergent with high functioning autism, like Einstein, who had the savant syndrome and was a genius. To just respect conditions that are different from yours, because autism is not an illness. It's not something to be ashamed of, even though it's a big stigma. Never thought I would make it public or use this word publicly, but it's really disgusting how it can be instrumentalized to be made into something different from what it is, into a mental illness, when it is not. It has nothing to do with the mental illness. It does not describe schizophrenia or the lack of clarity. On the contrary, but it is more susceptible to speech disorders, stuttering, emotional expressions that during trauma that make a person completely and wholly unbelievable, not credible. So yes, I do advise everyone to watch The Good Doctor and Atypical, because even though they are modern American series, they just show you what it really is and why people who are more vulnerable and more sensitive, they get described as over selfish and dinosaurs. I say always, because people with this neurological wiring are very scared of losing control, and so not being able to control the space. So they can be like very rigid about the rules. That's the only thing I can say. So sometimes he makes it a bit difficult to, but not more difficult than people who are just raised with the power to do whatever they want, and they do not realize that they are paying a lawyer to evict an innocent person based on crimes by their friends committed against that person. And that is a huge crime. It's the worst crime that you can commit. So I'm going to talk about my story, because even though I know that people will like me less and less if I do that, and nobody does share her story of gender violence because she wants to be liked by people, because people hate you when you do that. People start talking to you about, like, if you were some hen hater, because you're saying that men should stop doing violence to women, because you don't play and the sugar candy that says, oh yeah, just give me another slap on the other face, on the other cheek, because I'm a Christian or whatever. So I say that these you should give when someone uses violence against you, not the other cheek. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed to be angry. Don't be ashamed to express your anger. Don't be ashamed of saying no. And don't let them give you the crazy treatment, because if you shut up and you don't say anything and you just keep taking it, you will go crazy even if you're not, because that kind of pressure, it's not something to live with. So this is the only reason why I'm sharing my story. I don't mind looking a little bit ridiculous, and just letting, people are ultimately free to believe what they want about you, but you have the duty towards yourself and everybody else in this world to share your story of violence, in my opinion, because of consensual victimhood, because that is the only way to stop being a victim. When you are an unconsensual victim and you say, no, I'm going to share my story so that it doesn't happen ever again to anyone else. And it is well known that when you bring a shadow into the light, that shadow will be like shattered by the light, will be vanished by the light. So, for instance, the word obscene means off the scene. We consider something obscene, like the story I am to tell you of gross exposure of the gardener, who was actually a stalker, who has been on my back since 2022 with the Glastonbury guys. And I'm going to prove it eventually, but I'm going to do that only in court. So I'm not going to share how I knew him before coming here. That is not going to happen, because that can only happen seriously in the competent judicial sites where such things are discussed, such disgusting things are discussed and proved in the way that doesn't get the person who knows about it and is being stalked because of it more in trouble already than she is. But it is essential at this moment that I make very clear that my history of stalking with these men, it's much, much older than my meeting with the landlady who became the most tremendous enemy, unfathomable enemies that you could have as a woman who wants to survive from stalking. That is the worst enemy you could have, my landlady. Especially if you trusted that woman, especially if you have loved that woman as a friend or as a sister or as anything else, because you have shared everything about yourself with that person, and then that person, in a way that only a woman can do another, because you know each other better than how men know us. A woman after a week can know you better than your husband. At least that was my experience, having been with men as well. And it's just the worst thing that she can do to you, because the wound will go deep. I am a Taoist, and I believe that women have 9 chakras, 9 gates, as opposed to 7, and that's what the subject of my study of all my life. But in general, I do think that people from your own sex will hurt you better because they know you better. It's just a fact, and it's just my observation. There is nothing more painful, in my opinion, in any case, whether it is a man or a woman, that someone you trust deeply betrays you to the extent of making your voice completely known, that you cannot even make a report to the police. But nobody has written that you are unable to wail in court or legally irresponsible. But a woman with that power, or a person with that power, can be a man or a woman, can do that to you with the police just by speaking to them. My reports, and I'm not talking about notifications I make in criminal reports, prosecutional reports, being deleted from my account and moved into Earth. About a cat that was stolen from my room when we were away, and everything was on cameras. So, like, my room was on camera, and we could see that the cats were inside the room, and then they were gone. And then the day that they disappeared, the day after, my friend came to the house and found that my cats had gone and had not touched the food. And the flap was closed both sides, but both cats were gone, locked out. And coincidentally, the keys, the only key left that I had not brought with me and that not hidden in my room, I had given it to the neighbors because I am stupid as hell and I trusted that man. And the jealous wife, who is a control freak and an absolute nightmare, that woman, because to do that you must be disgusting in your guts. She knew, like, I had trusted that woman too, and she knew how scared I was about my cats being hurt by the German who was here doing the stalking with the gardener. Because I knew she was stalking, because I knew they were stalking together, because I recognized stalking behavior. I know when people are coming into my room and stealing things. We saw her. We saw things disappear right after she had been there. Of course, we know that it was her. Just like if I go to your bathroom and the shower, and then your shampoo disappears, you ask me, "Excuse me, where is my shampoo?" The same exact way. But if you come and ask me for your shampoo after I had showered in your bathroom, I'm gonna give it back to you, because I'm not gonna deny that I took it, right? Like when I was bullied by my landlady, I took her shampoo and threw it away because she had just done that to mine. But when she asked me, where did you put my shampoo? I just showed her the bin. I didn't tell her that I didn't take it, okay? But when it happened, it started happening in September, that I realized that this German was stealing in my room very, very precious and valuable things, that like my grandmother's silverware that I have carried with me for 30 years and never lost one. Because I do lose umbrellas and mugs, I do lose towels and bathing suits. All those things that phones and, all those things, keys, things that you have to take around. I mean, keys not as much, because I just tie them to things in ways that I don't lose them, but all those things that I am very precise and do not lose things that are family remembrances. The ashes of someone who died. Would you lose the ashes of someone who died? That did ever happen to anyone in the world, to lose the ashes of someone who died, whom you loved? Did it ever happen to anyone to be accused of just losing it? No, because I was accused by my landlady, just to give you the sense of the kind of respect that she has for other people and their disabilities. Like, I am forgetful because after head injury and severe stalking for 4 years, I was displaced and defamed in everywhere I went, and tried to settle through cybercrimes using always the same story of the course of the land, always that one with some new threads, but just the same threads and the same. So with that, I get criminalized. But, anybody could just in fact, the same people from Glastonbury are doing that, and they're still using the name that I used at that time when I was storytelling, that is no one. I never used that name ever again after that single month in Birmingham, in this forest where the Stop HS2 people lived. I was with 1 month with them, volunteering, because I was house sitting in my interminable movements trying to survive in houses. I was house sitting for a lady that was in France. I was in Birmingham for a month, and I went to make friends with the people that go climb on tree, and I climb on top of the trees as well. They taught me how. I was immensely fascinated by that, and I was being called no one because everybody had a nickname, not sharing their name, because we all had our own reasons for being outcast, maybe, I don't know. But I had a friend called Private. Never heard of anybody called Private before. So I was called no one, and that was for a month. After 4 years, I get the same exact vandalism to the car, same exact mail that is not coming for me at all for like 7 weeks now, the beginning of March. Late February. And what else? Trespasses at sacred times when you are and when you want to celebrate something sacred, like it happened on Christmas. And false allegations, smear campaigning, false lighting, and people that get into your life. So don't go on work away if you're stalked, because that's really the most stupid thing you can do, unless you're really going to someone who lives on their own and they put down in writing before you go that they will rent you or keep you. How long? Don't ever go without anything written. Even if you have a witness, don't do it. Just because to get a witness to prove it is so much more trouble. Like, I thought it was easy because we are in Europe. But no, like, I had witnesses for some of the crimes, at least some of the important crimes like trespasses, twice. And do you think that there is a single report from the police about this? No. I am now appealing to victim support because all the crimes that I have reported have been closed or dismissed or not even recorded. So this is like the background of the story. I did like a 20-minute introductions. I think it's long enough. And the sole purpose is I don't care how ridiculous I get more, because I don't think I could get more insulted and humiliated. I mean, I didn't feel humiliated because I know it was lies, but it was immensely hurtful to hear. I was not ashamed because I was ashamed for them, and I was looking at the actual slugs in the chairs from whom the accusations were coming. But it was completely a witch hunt. And by witch hunt, I do not mean that I am an actual real witch. I'm just talking about witch hunt as scapegoating phenomena, which is what I studied. So if you know my name, first you shouldn't know my name because my name is not there to be public. I have right to protection of my name because I changed my name twice by the Italian government to hide my natural origins, and because of stalking, which the Italian government has assessed through the police and the prefectures, and they would not, and defamation, of course, because of defamation, I couldn't get houses and work. They changed my name twice and surname, 2020, in 2007 and 2018, and still there is, or around that time, but still there is, I have the full right to not have my name mentioned in court. And even though I asked for it to that, frankly, criminal lawyer who caused my miscarriage with the criminal summons that was based on crimes, on two crimes, but two crimes that were violations of my privacy, stealing of my mail, my signature to get my mail, a fake police report, and slander, pure slander. That is the rubbish that was based on the summons. And this lawyer, as well, has been told that it was all rubbish. And why? Completely ignored my answer, completely ignored the fact I asked her to use my solicitor mediator because I was immensely distressed and I have the right to look after my health. And frankly, also disabilities, both temporary and permanent. It's a right to not be harassed by the lawyer of your counterparty who has been harassing you with illegal evictions, notices and requests and gossip since the day you arrived, about what people say about how you dress and how you talk and how you forget things. Oh no, it happens that someone is actually going into my room and scattering things around so that I look crazy, as well as the fact that I already forget things around. So just imagine how that feels. Imagine that maybe you are going demented. I mean, that's not what is happening to me. It's happening to my mama. But it's not nice to see because she forgets things and completely, and then she says they never happened, and I only know myself that she's going demented. I always knew that she was going demented. I mean, by dementia, that some kind of dementia, when you start to completely forget what happened and your brain starts telling different stories. Imagine someone that is really experiencing that, which is a condition completely to respect and love. Like, it's not that I'm gonna love my mom less because she has that, of course. But imagine just having that and being bullied as well and stalked and ridiculed and abused on that, so that when things actually get stolen from your altar, from those places where you never move your private things, like where you keep your moon, your moon pads, your your womanly things. You find these womanly things scattered around in the garden of your landlady or landlord, and people, and of course they start thinking, are you crazy? Are you putting your moon cap and your underwear near my door, in my kitchen, in my bathroom? So sometimes I would find things like private items that private wear or things related to my period, clean, luckily, but still around. Like my landlady would return them. Like once she took my moon cap when the eviction came, the eviction summons came. My moon cap that I had disappeared from the kitchen where I'd boiled it, disappeared and reappeared a month later on top of the counter. And the same happened to my phone at Christmas. And that was appeared like in a room cupboard in the laundry room, like around the 20th of January, which is when I did the report online, which also disappeared. The police delete this report, and I don't know why, because even if you do the report in the wrong place, this report shouldn't just disappear. They should call you and say, well, this report shouldn't have been done online, you must come in person. And what is it about? But by the time that I managed to finish writing the report, then I got the lawyer to write a restraining order from Italy so that it could be, and it was legally compliant, the restraining order, to European laws that says that when you are a foreigner in a foreign country and you are experiencing domestic violence, only one even one witness is enough to get a restraining order. You can get a temporary restraining order from your lawyer in your country, because maybe you only know your lawyer in your country, or maybe you don't speak the local language, or maybe it is difficult for you to find a lawyer in that country because you don't have the money to pay it, and you have to go through the Dutch or Swedish or English system that is different from that of the country where you were more familiar with. And so in that case, you can use your family lawyer or your usual lawyer from the country where you come from, or hold the nationality of, and then these can get transferred in any European country through a EU injunction within a month, through the public prosecutor or the court, the civil court. And of course, it's easier to do it with the country from that. From a lawyer with that from that country, but it's not always possible. So you can then ask yourself to the court that is transferred. But the problem is that when they received this restraining order, that was 11th of February, the police told her that it was not valid, and that was not true, because the police was completely ignoring then that there is this law that guarantees this for foreign citizens, and that was a completely valid TRO. Maybe it's not, TRO means temporary restraining order. Maybe sometimes it's not perfectly translated because lawyers will use like professional website translators and that are automatic translations like DeepL. And so sometimes there can be errors, because when you are in these situations, you don't always have, the top lawyer that will have, that will pay the legalized translation. If they are bilingual, they might make some mistakes, but still, I don't think that was the case. But in any case, because I read it, so I think that was absolutely fine in terms of the form, and there was nothing wrong with this restraining order, but still the police didn't know about it, and so she didn't respect it. Both the defamation part of it, which asked her precisely to stop defamation because she has slandered me horrifically from the beginning, revoltingly really, with all her friends and family, and she has referred to me what they said. So that is extremely violent, because as an outsider, I just found myself gossiped and googled and giggled about and just looked at weird, but not knowing what they were saying. I wasn't doing anything much. I wasn't speaking all that much or seeing them. I was avoiding the two creeps and just speaking to the landlady, but beside the two creeps there wasn't that many people. I didn't get to speak to her private friends and family very often, except for one who is crazier than myself, than two of myself or three put together, who on our early first in the early meeting, she talked to me about her vaginal piercing. So, I mean, if I'm eccentric, her friends are too. That is for sure, because I wouldn't think of anything more intimate than talking about that. So I didn't get the sense I was in exceedingly uptight place, but at the same time, even though I was completely isolated in that ugly shed without toilet, excluded from meals and sharing and cultural inclusion that was happening with other workaways, who are obviously there to travel and socialize, even, like, I didn't understand what was going on. I understood that there was some smear campaigning from the two stalkers, but I was like, what are, like, they looked so weird and creepy themselves and unintelligent and just some two very damaged people with psychological problem, as they they transfer the thing on me, but this is who has psychological problems themselves, and that landlady that has some deep stress disorder and stress management issue, and burned out, that in order to deny the violence that was done to me by the two of them, made me go through a violent miscarriage with police accusation, criminal accusations that luckily were dropped because my father is a lawyer and, well, a jurist with a lot of lawyers around, and a NGO of lawyers, and so he managed to make the police see what was happening in terms of the stolen parcel and the fact that I actually done nothing wrong. But these false allegations went into the court, and then I had a neurological episode that was violent, of tears, that was a meltdown. And it was, sometimes people with autism, you can see them crying and you think it's a tantrum or an emotional meltdown, but it's actually a neurological meltdown that can start from emotions that are very triggered by despair. Like in that situation, I was not allowed to call my family, which is a legal requirement for anyone vulnerable and abroad, even without any autism or PSGT, just because you are being taken away from your home, or the only place that you can call, so a roof on your head. At least you are being taken away from the roof on your head with false accusations after the most horrible thing happened, because someone who has gone through survival from male abuse, the last thing you want is male in army. The last thing you want is the police in your room. And since May, when I went to her house, to her houses, I mean, there was always police around, always, from how the shed and the house, and every time since May it was police. So I was not allowed to call my father, who would have been able to advise me and be that brain that in me had stopped working, because I was just in the sheer trauma in that moment when the guy, the lawyer, told me they wanted to give me 6 weeks and 500 euros instead of 3 months and 6,000, so I could at least cover the summer rent after all the damage that they did to me, to not let me go homeless in the summer, because there was also huge financial damage done to me. But the problem is that when you don't recognize a life as an equal, all the damage that you do to that life, you don't recognize. So all she could see was all the things that she did for me, and all I could see was all the things that she hadn't done right, the legal civil things right, like, because I came from very far and drove a very long way with help from other people, because I was promised legal housing on a legal website, with a series of things that were not given. Then I was offered to be able to rent all year round, and I said well before coming that I would. And she knows this, but she has been lying since. She has been trying to turn the omelette around and saying that, no, I'm stupid and I would come without that promise. No, I didn't. I didn't do that distance. I was looking for a place where I can stay at least a year if things go wrong. And I knew that luckily they would, so that I couldn't go home because I don't have a home actually anymore. I don't know where home is. I've been into many places. So this is my intro, and from the next, I'm gonna do some episodes where I tell my whole story around stalking. I mean, not the whole story, but from when it started in Glastonbury with the Glastonbury eviction, with identical accusations based on the same books, on the same ideas of the course of the land, on the same, exactly the same stuff, completely. So now, however, I have the proof of who it is, because before it was just that group of people. But before the stalking, it was just accusation in court. I thought, okay, I am going to sue them because the landlord, Paul Banks, broke an undertaking of court. He should have been put in jail. But instead, like, because he signed not to evict me illegally, the next day he evicted me and another girl illegally, changing her locks. Or if she didn't, maybe she didn't, I don't know if she was evicted or not in the end, but I was. And the court said that the Court of Towton, I still remember, it was Judge Brown, the Court of Towton. And I am allowed to say what was the name of the judge. It's on the trial paper. I still have it. I still have the injunction that I did to use the bathroom and the kitchen. And it was a court hearing on the phone on the 12th of March. I was in Camelford in a B&B, where they also were nuts. And one day they said, "What are you doing here? All day in your room." I'm sick. I got sick because I was living in the crypt in Glastonbury. It was called actually the crypt, the room I was renting for 300 something a month. And even though I was paying to be in that crypt, they also wrote that I was on charity. It's just how they deprive you of your civil rights by making you into a charity case. And they will do vandalism and they will hit your frontal lobes so that you will lose your, this is what they do to women, but that they want to marginalize, to make them unfiltered, to make them raw, to make them angry, so that they're very easy to psychiatrize. It's horrific. And I think it's everyone's responsibility. Otherwise, you'll do like my landlady. You walk 9 months over the Native Americans, and then you go and ridicule the Native Europeans who have studied all their life to get their history and identity documented respectfully and civilly. Like, I studied for 30 years. And what I heard in that court about me claiming to be a witch and a shaman, who even wore a witch hat at Halloween. Imagine that. What a dangerous criminal. They call me an era terrorist. I was like, the only terrorist and legalized criminals is all of you together, because it was completely disgusting. And I was not even allowed to call my father. I mean, it was not just disgusting what happened there, but the whole thing. Like, that was the trial on the blood of my miscarriage, my 8th miscarriage. I am not joking. My 8th miscarriage. I am 45. I have come here talking to that woman all along of how much I wish to have a peaceful pregnancy. This is something that we are never to mention in videos in the old culture, but I'm gonna have to mention it here because I do want 3 children. I'm not gonna give that up because I was a victim of stalking, you know, like already I lost my 5 years of the top 5 years of my career from 40 to 45, because it's when I was with my first PhD that was almost finished, and I was basically going to enter the whole world of conferences and showcases so that my work could be shared. And because my work is about giving voice to the ethnic groups that have lost it, those ethnic groups of peace that have so much to teach us. So of course I have a language of violence and a language of patriarchy and a language of anger. I'm a victim, I'm an unconceptual survivor of and victim of extreme crimes of hate, but that doesn't mean that I am going to let people who do not want this ancient wisdom to come back about how we can learn to communicate in a way that describes only ourselves when we want to overcome conflict. Okay, I'm not saying this is the only way to talk. I am not doing it now. I'm talking normally. I'm just describing what happened to me from my point of view and what I think the stalkers are. But why they act that way and who they are, because I want that this ends. I want people who go through these, women that go through these, that they do not get psychiatrized and criminalized anymore. I want to render this story public in a way that it will protect other women and make them speak out when their story needs to come out, so that you don't go nuts and you can actually heal from it, because you can become the instrument of other women and people to heal from it and never feel too small. Never feel too small. You're never too little to speak out.